Voltaire was a leading figure in turning philosophical France, or at least Paris, from being predominantly Cartesian to being predominantly Newtonian. He wrote the first popularization of Newtonian philosophy to appear in France, The Elements of Newton's Philosophy, in 1738. It summarizes, for the non-mathematician, Newton's system of the world, the doctrine of gravitational attraction, and Newton's experimental work on light and colors. But Voltaire's enthusiasm for Newton also rested on the religious implications that he saw in Newton's philosophy. Instead of using Newton's universe to show the omnipresence of God, Voltaire used its mathematical determinacy and law-like structure to support his own position of deism. Deism, a doctrine also favoured by John Toland, is the belief that although God initially created the universe, he then left it alone to run according to the immutable laws of nature, also divinely created and ordained, much like a clock that never runs down. The position rejected ideas of divine providence, the idea that prayers have any efficacy, and in fact most of the central tenets of Christianity. By emphasizing Newtonianism's picture of an entirely deterministic universe governed by laws, Voltaire saw himself as undermining the French Catholic Church, which he saw as a bastion of ignorance, superstition, and social privilege. Another aspect of Newton's appeal in 18th century France was its value for mathematicians. Mathematicians in the Paris Academy of Sciences vigorously defended Newton against the Cartesians in the 1730s, although the translator of Newton's Principia into French in this period, the prominent philosopher and metaphysician Émilie de Châtelet, was, being a woman, never admitted to the Academy, despite her reputation and having been trained by the luminaries Pierre-Louis Maupertuis and Alexis Clairaut. Some mathematicians who were in the Academy, like Jean-Laurent d'Alembert, were attracted to the mathematical possibilities of Newton's worldview. They worked on a completely theoretical mathematical mechanics based on Newton's laws of motion and gravitation that was known as rational mechanics, a term applied by Newton himself. By accepting Newton's view of a world composed of forces and particles, they gave themselves countless interesting new problems to solve. Their skills therefore claimed for them a central role as experts in understanding the nature of a universe framed in those Newtonian terms. But the wider appeal, and the overall convincing quality of Newton's physical universe, lay to a great extent in the aspects that Voltaire particularly promoted. D'Alembert, the mathematician, was attracted by the political uses of Newton. These two aspects, the interest for mathematicians and the broader social implications, brought about a practical victory for Newtonianism over Cartesianism in the French Academy of Sciences during the 1730s and 40s. Although Voltaire is the most notable example of Newton's ideological appeal in France, he was not a member of the Academy. But he was an important member of a liberal intellectual reform movement that included Academy members and was at the forefront of promoting Newtonian philosophy and related ideas in France throughout the century. The members of this group are known collectively as the philosophes, and they can be broadly characterized as pamphleteers and professional writers. Like Voltaire, who was one of the earliest, they saw themselves as the vanguard of liberal reform and enlightened rationalism in 18th century France.